Georgia, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me. And thank you so much for all of the time and effort that you're putting into Light Project and helping helping the exhibit happen in Alabama.
Oh, it's just totally my pleasure, Jeremy. This program really is probably the first program or effort that has really triggered my heartstrings to be involved. I lost my son 12 years ago, so it's obviously a great program to have struck a chord after all this time.
First of all, I'm so sorry you lost your son.
Thank you.
Um, I This is a first for me in terms of these conversations that I'm having with family members and participants in the project where well, just two. Number one, I don't believe I've spoken to another ambassador yet
Mhm.
that's been so involved in making an exhibit happen. And everybody else I've spoken to, the exhibition has already taken place. So I had an
Oh,
opportunity to read, the narrative and more information
right.
before speaking with the people. But I would love it if you would share more about your son with me because I don't know anything about him.
Oh, such a doll. I
Mhm.
think I wrote in the narrative that he was just a dream child as far as everything you could want in a little package. He started talking extremely early. He loved reading better than anybody I've ever known. He was a little bit of a child prodigy in chess. I have this adorable picture of him from a newspaper where he was sitting on one of those cafeteria stools, and he was in the first grade, and he was playing a sixth grader in the chess tournament. So, it looked like David and Goliath in the picture. And so he was just extraordinarily smart, if he was mine. And he really had a side to him that was like a little old man. And part of that makes it so little old grumpy man. And part that kind of makes it so unusual that he would step off into the world of addiction. It mystified me beyond comprehension. And I know every mother and father you talk to would say that. So anyway, he went to high school and left high school a year early, went to college on an honors scholarship. However, he was exposed, well, he was a paintball player. He really loved that in college. And he tore up his knee and had knee surgery. And at that time, he was given oxycodone, I guess. And that's when he realized, I think, that substances were something that he liked. So that was kind of the start, the introduction, I would say. He was not full blown at that moment, but over the years it became totally full blown.
A couple things I want to react to. Number one, your pride in him and your love of him comes through as you're talking about him. What was his name?
His name was Will Holmes.
Well, okay. I just
Uh-huh.
wanted to know. I just
Oh,
didn't
sure.
get a chance to read the submission or a narrative before the conversation.
Right.
Um, this is a story that is just, I'm hearing, again, if you saw me nod when you said he was, injured and given a painkiller, it's just so frustrating. And, it's a disease. And when I'm in recovery myself. I'm
Mhm. I
about
knew
five and
that.
a half, almost 5.5 years in recovery. And, yeah, it's usually how it starts out. Oh, I like this, right? And then you can spend a lifetime chasing how it first made you feel, and it's not,
Right.
you never even get back to that. Just really becomes such a devastating disease. I'm so sorry you lived through that.
Well, I'd also like
Yeah.
to comment, Jeremy, that in addition to the exposure and a kind of avant-garde college group that sort of dabbled, but all the rest of them upon graduation pulled themselves together and went on to live a very healthy, fruitful life. Will, however, just kind of started spiraling down. And I think part of that also is a genetic family history. It's so interesting. You would think after a while I would have learned something, but I will tell you, Will died in 2012. And at that time, there was not, and I'm so thankful for today's efforts, but there weren't that many kinds of choices and education and experiences that I could lean on. I laugh and say, I have my problems, but alcohol and addiction to drugs was not one of them. So it's very hard to understand it and
I
to understand the gravity of the disease process.
appreciate your honesty with that. I think it's not easy to say that,
Mhm.
and I think I'm sure you really want to understand it better, you know what I mean, without going through it, of course.
Right.
Um, but I agree, I think that it is hard for people that haven't lived that experience to
Right.
really understand how someone can self-destruct like that.
Sure.
It's a lot. Um, we started off the conversation with you saying how, obviously it's been 12 years and that this is a project that really kind of piqued your interest and made you want to get involved. Can I ask what it was about Into Light that did pique your interest? Is there something specific about the project that did that?
Well, I'd like to mention how I came to know about the project, and that
Please, yeah,
was through a local artist and musician named Jason Irvin. And
Jason, yeah.
Jason is just, I live in a small rural community and everybody knows everybody. And so Jason being much younger than I am and so forth, we're still Facebook friends. And, everybody in Christendom around here is a Facebook friend. So I saw a post that Jason did about a portrait that he was working on and about the program, and he listed the link. And I was fascinated. And so I went to the Indolite website, which, by the way, is wonderful,
It's good
and
to hear. It's
poked
nice to hear.
around, quote unquote, and figured out that I definitely wanted to be a part of it. And the narrative, I will tell other mothers, and I've heard this in other interviews, the narrative is very um, heart heart touching, I guess I could say. It took me a while to fill out the narrative. Number one, I wanted to think about it, but what I would tell other parents is it was fabulous to go back and pull together all those memories. It had been 12 years for me. So pulling together all those memories and putting it all on paper, I was just blown away with ultimately what a great experience that was for me. I will
It's
say,
so great.
there were times when I was a
Yeah,
little, you know, but
sure.
I just felt like overall it was a great experience. And the
That's
idea of
great
having
to
a
hear.
portrait
Yeah.
and having a portrait made by somebody I really like and consider a friend was just a good thing.
That's incredible. So Jason did do the
Yes,
portrait of Will for
yes.
you. That's
Mhm.
that's wonderful. I love that. I had the opportunity to speak a couple times with Jason, and he and I have a lot in common. I'm a musician as well, artist as well.
Mhm.
He's got a much better beard than I do, but but I really like Jason. I didn't realize that was the connection and how you were
That
brought
was the
into the
link.
into the project. That's really cool. It's really neat, and I love that you're speaking to the writers. Because I also I don't know if you had a chance. I did a video recently where it was three portrait artists and three of the narrative writers, and we all sat down together. to kind of talk about what this project is like for us and what it
Right,
means to us. And
right.
it's really very different, very, very different experience, I think, that the
Yeah,
writers and the portrait artists are having. And yet at the same time, the impact is massive. It's like once you do one, once any of us, once we write one narrative or do one portrait, we are just in it and
mhm,
completely hooked because it is so incredibly rewarding. It's so incredibly rewarding to be able to, first of all, get to know such incredible people. The one thing that I will say is if someone like yourself survives the loss of a child and what you went through, it- it's impossible to not be changed by it, obviously. And
right,
for what I'm noticing is that those changes tend to be extremely inspirational to me, to see
right.
what how people channel that grief and that pain and what they're doing. I'm about to release a video from another parent who spent, you know, countless hours here in Delaware, driving back and forth, meeting with, attorneys generals and she's had all these, four different pieces of legislation passed.
Oh,
And that's how she has channeled the grief of losing a child. And she is,
right,
my God, is she improving the lives of people that are sick here in Delaware? And
right.
yeah, it
And
is
we
that,
also need to
yeah.
speak to the influence Teresa Clower has had.
Yeah, well, we have to
Teresa
be
is
careful with that
just,
because if we're too nice, she'll make me edit it
I
out.
know. But I will say, Teresa and I just get each other. And I just
It's awesome.
enjoy her and her intellect and compassion and shepherding this,
Yeah,
creating this and shepherding it along has just meant the world to me. And all the people I have met in association with Into Light have been um, inspirational to me and have meant a lot to me. It's a club you don't want to belong to, but now that you're here, it's just the loveliest people associated with Into Light.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for that. You're part of the club. Talk to me about your role as an ambassador. What's that been like for you?
Oh, it's been great. I love a project, okay?
Yeah.
And I really felt like when we started this project, it is going to be shown at the University of South Alabama in Mobile, Alabama, which is the extreme southern edge of our state.
Mhm.
And I was so taken with my visit to Mobile to see what all they had in store. It's going to be a fabulous exhibit, and I was very impressed. However, our state is sort of vertical, and I decided after I looked into continuing the conversation that it would be so great if it moved north
Yeah.
after or during the showing in Mobile. I just
Cool.
wanted more. And
Yeah.
so having a few contacts with state government and various things, I just started making myself available, calling, emailing, working through Teresa to get people to meet with me because I'll say this as an ambassador. There's just nothing like offering to go meet somebody at an exact time in an exact place.
Right.
It has made quite a difference, I think,
Yeah.
in what we've been able to do in Alabama. And so I just put myself out there and decided that, I needed to talk to people and keep talking to people and visit people and learn about organizations. And as I said, I'm so thrilled with the organizations that are available today and what they do and how they get it.
It's
And
interesting.
um,
Well, it's quite a perspective you have, to see the changeover in a little bit more than a decade. Um,
yes.
that's really cool. Um, have you had any like unexpected roadblocks or anything like that as an ambassador, or have you felt like pretty much everybody's really interested in? Yeah, I'm curious. I want to hear about some of them. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
I got you. Well, there are, yes, you have to have not a tough skin, but you have to have a little bit of everybody isn't going to buy into this. And I think on a personal level, Jeremy, um, one of the things that surprised me was everybody is not to the point where they can share. And that kind of surprised me. It was so cathartic to me that I just assumed everybody that, and I will say this, among my very dearest friends, they have lost children. Some of them have lost children, but not through substance use. So I didn't know a lot of people to just reach out to on an individual level.
Yeah,
But when I did, I was very surprised that they just weren't all jumping to be involved. A good number were, but there are people that just aren't ready
yeah,
to and just can't verbalize it and get into it in a big way.
yeah. Have you been coming up against, people that are still really living in shame about what's happened?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I think that's a big part of it. I think
yeah.
that's
Well,
absolutely a big part.
I mean, it's all makes the work that Teresa and Barbara and all of us in Into Light are doing. That's why we're doing it. Like that's
Right,
exactly why we're doing it is
right.
because that nobody should be feeling that shame.
Sure.
Nobody, the people that are in active addiction, the people that have lost ones dying, nobody should be feeling that shame. And
Right.
it's the shame, it's that shame that's killing people. It's
Sure.
preventing people from getting help. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's it's really important work. This program has become such um this project has become such an important part of my recovery program, and conversations like this, um, I'm really kind of considering to be my almost part of my sobriety work. And
Right.
obviously the portraits that I'm doing and that time, when I get to draw these portraits at night, it's really it's like my meditation
Mhm.
time. This is my time to, do what I can do, use my God-given talents, to
Right.
try and help. And to me, it's just I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would be doing without it. I mean, I started my portrait business just drawing really cute dogs and cats that people love. And there was something very lighthearted about that and nice, but it
Right.
certainly wasn't as rewarding. Uh, and I think for Alabama, I want to say I had the opportunity to draw either 11 or 12 portraits.
Uh-huh.
And I just, every single experience that I had with every single person, uh, you know, they're just
Right.
such lovely people, and so grateful, so appreciative, and so sweet. And there's something about this whole Southern charm thing. I think Southern hospitality really nice. Delaware is
Well,
one of the
you're in
states
the
where like the top half of Delaware is the north and the bottom half of Delaware is the south. So, and a teeny little space.
well,
Um,
Deep South is an entirely different culture for
always,
sure.
yes, absolutely. But
But
um, mhm.
I would
Were you
like
gonna
to
say something?
say,
Mhm.
one of the things I don't want to get to finish the interview without talking about what was extremely um, soothing and gladdened my heart so much about my son before he died. Will did not die of an overdose and or fentanyl poisoning or anything like that. His long-term abuse destroyed his liver and he died of liver failure. And of course, when he first went into addiction recovery, I, being the haughty mother of a smart attorney, thought, well, we'll just do 3 months of therapy. We'll just do 3 months of program, and hey, we got this lit. We're smart enough to get away past
Mm,
this,
mm,
okay? And so then when he relapsed, collapsed, all the things that continued to happen, I was just like, in shock. Finally, um, he went through a couple of drying outs, and he found a program, or we found a program that really, really spoke to him.
mm,
And he went to this program and he met a nurse that he fell in love with, and she fell in love with him. And he got clean, and he established, Will being an attorney, it was really interesting. Our bar association in Alabama had a real neat lady that was working with addiction and alcoholism in attorneys. She had a job at the bar association,
Interesting.
and he
Yeah.
got to be really good friends with her. And Will was the kind of just go drop by your office and sit down. So they really bonded. And when he got sober and clean, he established a law firm through the Alabama Bar Association for hiring lawyers in recovery. And it was just such a neat program. And he was the managing partner. And I can just remember just the pride of thinking, and then of course his health started spiraling downward. And but I feel like that if he had lived, he would still be maybe managing that program because it was so neat and so far thinking. He told me one time, he said, Mom, lawyers in recovery do not want to work at Lowe's or Home Depot. That's not who they are. And so we
Well, it's
need to
way too
give
much
them
education for
back.
that.
I've got nothing against Lowe's and Home Depot.
No, of course not.
But
Yeah.
that's how he said it. And that's what he did. And so the last year of his life was probably one of the happiest years of his life. And that gave
Beautiful.
me great solace.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I also tells me that I think he must be so proud of the work that you're putting into light and your involvement with this. I think he would be so happy to see you getting involved in doing this. And
Right.
heard you say earlier that it's difficult for you to understand, but I imagine this project has probably been helpful as you've been going
Very,
through it and starting to understand.
very.
Um, I love that, even being, sick with this disease that I share with him, he managed to kind of start that and have an impact on the lives of, that's really what I think good sobriety work is all about is like if you can get out of the fog, like what can we do to try and
Right.
help other people get out of the fog, and I
Right.
think that's impressive and that really speaks to his underlying character and like you said, how smart he is. And so Georgia, this is great. I think we should, if you don't have anything else major to say, I think we should probably let's just like bring it to a close because this is a short enough conversation that we can post the whole thing and people won't go, oh God, 45 minutes, I'm not gonna watch it.
I get it.
I
I
think we're right in that
totally
sweet
get
spot
it,
where people are gonna be
Jeremy.
like, oh, this is a nice short one. I'm gonna watch it. No, this has been a great conversation. I've been excited to speak to you, and I apologize that
Right.
I think we both had to
Yep.
reschedule a couple times there. But this I was eager to talk to you again because you're participating in the project in a unique way from anybody else I've had a chance to speak to, and the exhibit is yet to happen. And so
Right.
I love that you're. So did you? One last question, and I heard you bring up continuing the conversation. Is that something that is already set in place in Alabama that it's going to be
Uh,
going into a second place, or is that something you're just really working
it's
with
a
now?
work in progress.
Mm.
And when you said roadblocks, I probably should have mentioned, uh, it's my passion, but everybody I contact, it's not their passion.
Yeah,
And if one gets sidetracked, then nobody's going to be calling you saying, "Hey, wasn't that a great idea? Let's go find a venue." Okay.
sure. Well, you're
So
I mean, I'm sure Teresa has told you you are just a one in a million for this project because it takes that kind of person that like the right person's out there. You're just gonna have to find them, and
yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah.
And
And
so that
so
persistence is everything. Yeah, it's
sure.
everything.
And so I had a little sidetrack with illness. And so I'm all fine now and kind of
Good.
ready to get back into pursuing, continuing the conversation. But
Well,
Jeremy, it's
hey,
been delightful to talk to you. And
and it's been delightful to talk to you as well, Georgia. Seriously, it's a lovely conversation. You're a lovely person, and I hope that this video will be something that you can kind of put a link into emails that you're sending to people or reaching out to
Absolutely.
people and say, here's a little bit more about me and my involvement.
Right.
So hopefully that'll be helpful for ongoing work.
Yes.
But lovely, lovely conversation. And I really am grateful for you taking the time, not just to talk to me, but everything that you're doing for the project. And I know Teresa feels the same way. And I think she'll be okay with the comments that we made about her. I don't think we laid it on too thick. So hopefully we won't
Great.
have to cut them.
Is she watching this? You keep looking over there.
Yeah. She's right here. No.
Love it.
Sure, sure, just
Okay.
lovely talking to you.